All of those U.S. soldiers who refused to inject themselves with an experimental vaccine, you know what happened to all of them, right? How many? We've covered these stories here on the show. They were kicked out of the United States military. That's right. And they were given involuntary discharge papers in most instances. It varied from person to person, but it was not honorable. They got their discharge papers. They got their walking papers. You don't want a experimental vaccine? Sorry, it's mandated under the Secretary of Defense. You've got to get out.
Do you know, does that kind of act like a dishonorable where you can't get home loans and stuff, like their life is pretty much disrupted because of that kind of, or is it different?
I'm not exactly sure, and maybe Grim can tell us, who's a veteran here, what exactly that means. But I know that it's not dishonorable where you got like this tarnish on you where you can't then get a job, or where you dishonorably discharged, you can't get home loans or anything like that. No, it just means that you don't. I don't think you get the benefits. I think that's what it means. So you don't have a tarnish on you, but you certainly don't get the benefits of having served and getting out with an honorable discharge, if I'm not mistaken. Grim, let me know in the chat, or other veterans here as well, let us know. But also, there was different variations and gradations to how people were discharged. So it wasn't just like a blanket, structure like that where you're involuntarily discharged. Others had different reasons for it, but the Pentagon was almost gleeful about it at the time. You remember this, right? They were posting official statements to the news outlets to shame these people. Air Force discharges 24 or 27 for refusal to get COVID vaccine, and the Associated Press, of course, which is a mouthpiece of the Pentagon, went along with it in those headlines there. Here's another one. Army cuts off more than 60,000 unvaccinated Guard and Reserve soldiers from pay and benefits with their disloyal discharge, their involuntary discharge. Involuntary discharge. And don't worry, because kicking all of these people out won't hurt America's recruiting numbers at all, they told us. That's what they told us. This is Marine Corps Lieutenant General David Oddington told lawmakers, I can tell you there are no operational impacts across the force for readiness. There's no one community that has signaled an instance where a leader or an NCO or another enlisted Marine is not present because of that. Of course, this all came from the top, from the Pentagon, right from the top, from the head of the Pentagon himself, Lloyd Austin, and the Biden White House. There he is. In case you can't remember what he looks like, here he is. This is what double-vaxxed and twice-boosted Secretary of Defense
It looks
Lloyd
like he
Austin
just walked off the set of like a Star Wars prequel.
Right. Like Spaceballs.
I think Naboo Navy. Yeah.
Naboo Navy. Yes. I think he almost looks like Darth Helmet, right? From like Spaceballs or something like that. Like,
oh yeah, Dark Helmet.
Dark Helmet. Yeah. This is the leader of the United States military. I mean, look at this guy. This joke. Keeping America safer by kicking out members in the military, arguably the healthiest Americans that we have, because they wouldn't get vaccinated. They were already the healthiest population in the United States to begin with, and so we needed them to get vaccinated? He's a true hero. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. He also made a lot of money serving on the board of Tenet Healthcare and Raytheon, by the way. He had to absolve himself of those boards when he, of course, took the role under the Biden administration. So you know where his loyalties are, though. Got to make some money for the healthcare industry, get all these guys vaxxed. It turns out Dark Helmet realized he screwed up big time and is now begging those unvaccinated heroes to come back. Please come back. Please come back to the United States military. We'll even burn those discharge papers and give you your benefits back. I can't believe this, but these are letters now being sent out. Former unvaccinated members of the military are receiving letters like this now in the mail. Reading, and I'll quote right from the screen here. We write to notify you of the new Army guidance regarding the correction of military records for former members of the Army following rescission of the COVID-19 vaccination requirement. As a result of the rescission of all current COVID-19 vaccination requirements, former soldiers who were involuntarily separated for refusal to receive COVID-19 vaccinations may request a correction of their military records from either or both the Army Discharge Review Board or the Army Board for Correction of Military Records. Oh, so they can now get their discharge just wiped away with a moist towel. But then paragraph 3. Individuals who desire to apply to return to service should contact their local Army, U.S. Army Reserve, or Army National Guard recruiter for more information. In other words, we'd love you back. We'd love you to come back. So it's simple as that. Well, no, it's not as simple as that.
Wait, does anywhere on that letter say anything about back pay?
I didn't see anything about back pay.
For all of the pay that we didn't get?
No, I don't see anything unless I'm missing it here. Personal records regarding characterization of discharge. No, just the characterization of your discharge is now going to be wiped away. But no back pay. No back pay or
and no,
like that.
Help with any bills they might have gone delinquent on, or any, problems that, like, let's pretend it never happened. You don't mention it, I won't mention it.
Right. It's don't ask, don't tell, basically. That's what it is. Yeah. So, get out of here with that. And so, so it's as simple as that. No, it's not as simple as that, because the reason these pilots, sailors, and Marines said no to this drug is because it was experimental, and they didn't want their bodies forced to take an experimental drug. What would it do to their long-term health benefits? Take pilots, for example. Naval pilots who were forced to take it reported severe adverse events as a result of this. Commercial pilots who were forced to take it, reporting severe adverse events. And earlier this year, the FAA quietly lowered the heart health standards for pilots and did so without alerting the public. They admitted the EKGs of pilots is no longer normal. So you mean the hearts of these pilots who shuttle hundreds of people every day are compromised, potentially? And shocking, now we have a pilot shortage in the United States, and airlines are trying to get approval to just use one pilot instead of two. Airlines move to have one pilot, not two, in a cost-cutting solution. In a move to save costs and ease staff shortages, many countries are asking the United Nations body that controls global aviation safety rules to move to a one-pilot model in commercial flights instead of two.
So instead of two with good hearts, we have one with compromised hearts.
Right. Okay. So what happens if that one pilot has an issue? Is anyone on board a pilot? Can anyone pilot a Boeing 757? Well, I once flew a Cessna.
It's not like the two pilot thing was something they just did to be funny or to give people jobs. It was a safety issue.
Right.
So now are they suggesting, like, well, it's no longer a safety issue. That's no longer a problem. No, we've realized that if something happens to the only pilot in the plane, it's best to have nobody else there that can pilot the plane.
Exactly.
That's the safest route.
We know from a number of airline crashes, the protocols and the having a second pilot there is, as you point out, there for a reason. It's there so that the co-pilot, the co-captain, can monitor and make sure and verify what the captain is doing. And we know from certain airline crashes in the 1970s that certain protocols weren't in place where the co-captain basically felt like subservient to the main captain. And was like, I'm not going to question what he's doing, even though I know he's about to get us all killed. I won't speak up and say anything about it. Screw that. The reason we have two pilots there is for that very reason, for safety. So get rid of them. Just get rid of them. Kick them out. And now, this week, we have a pilot warning of a major airline disaster that could be happening very, very soon, thanks to these mandates. If this is not an ominous warning, pilot warns of airline industry disaster due to COVID-19 vaccinations. Captain Shane Murdoch says the air industry is poised on the precipice of disaster, I'm quoting. A pilot for more than 40 years says, and qualified air accident investigator, hey, he has found official data that back up his claim of impending global catastrophe. He adds, quote, when correlated, the data indicate there is an enormous problem that is having and will have a significant impact on aviation safety worldwide. There is enough evidence to be sending out red flags. He says, quote, the article says, there have been many tragedies this year. Phil Thomas, a young graduate of Cadiz in Spain, Flight Training Academy, fell ill, died suddenly in April. There were 5 pilot incapacitations in March, including a British Airways pilot who collapsed and died in Cairo, Egypt, not long before he was due to fly. Pilots are, as the article points out, super fit. So why are so many dying suddenly or collapsing? Captain Murdoch says they are suffering severe adverse reactions. Like myocarditis, brain fog, insomnia, blood clots, anaphylaxis, and other side effects. And he says some pilots are ticking time bombs and claims many are not even declaring ill health. He said they are not reporting brain fog, quoting him. He says they are not reporting brain fog, heart flutters, dizzy spells, because they don't want to lose their jobs. So thanks. Thanks for all these mandates. And by the way, you and I were watching, I think we were watching football this weekend, and we saw an ad. Mm-hmm. And for maybe many of you watched it too or saw it. It was just on. It was a commercial. We were like, "What the hell?"
For COVID vaccines?
No, it was not. No, it was for airline pilots.
Oh,
it was like they're like, "Yeah, I'm going to become a pilot. I'm going to become a pilot. I'm going to become a pilot." You know why? There's a shortage of. The thing was, there's a shortage of airline pilots in the United States. I'm going to get my pilot's license. I can get this. I can get benefits. I can have this kind of career. I'm going to learn how to become a pilot. And I'm going to go to pilot training school to become a commercial pilot because, and it even said in the ad, there's a commercial airline shortage of pilots.
You remember, like back in the day, it was like a prestigious thing to be a pilot. A pilot was like, you were like looked at basically like royalty. And now you're just like, just another piece of meat in a grinder.
Yeah, sadly. I mean, I think you and I think normal people still hold them in such high regard. When I see a pilot, I'm like, there's a pilot. You know, I'm still like, but I think to what you mean in the corporate machine and sort of the cogs in the machine, right? They're sort of like being treated this way. Like you need to get this mandate. They're like pin cushions.
Insane hours, the things that they go through, the pay that they get now is not what they used to get. Like it's barely a livable wage when they used to be like, doctor status pay wise.
Well, maybe they could say, hey, as part of our contract, as part of our union contract or whatever, we're not going to be forced mandates anymore. We're not going to be forced to take these things. You can't tell us what to do. United Airlines, Delta Airlines, American Airlines, you can't tell us what to do.
I believe we had a guy on the show last year who was working on that.
Yeah.
Union negotiations to never require this again, anything like this again.
Yeah, he's very brave, and he's gathered an incredible. We'll link that interview that we did with him from the former Air Force pilot, I believe, former Air Force pilot who then was basically forced out.
Is now litigating. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.